Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Bunkered Podcast in association with Callaway Golf. I'm Michael McEwen. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you're joining us on YouTube, which of course you now can, youtube.com/bunkered. You can watch us there as well as listen to us. Yeah, rather a lot to get through this week. As per usual, we're going to be doing a bit of a PGA Championship debrief. The second men's major of the year has come and gone. Was it any good? We'll discuss that. And then there's the usual nonsense. I couldn't do it alone, of course, and I wouldn't want to. So delighted to say joined once again by my two glamorous co-hosts, back from a day on the golf course yesterday, playing Dumbarton Links, performance editor Lewis Fraser, and our gear editor James Tate. Gentlemen, hello, welcome.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what you mean about usual nonsense. Don't know what that's all about.
Well, you know, just I'm trying to set people's expectations nice and low.
Right, yeah, fair
And then
enough,
they're
yeah.
genuinely quite impressed by the
Yeah,
end of it
well,
and leave
we'll
us
see.
5-star reviews,
Okay,
which we're more than welcome to, by the way. Please do.
nice.
We like 5-star reviews. See your
Yeah, we
2-star
do.
reviews, forget them.
Yeah.
Not interested. 5-star only. So, gents, good day on the golf course yesterday. Dumbarton Links, first time for you both. You enjoyed it?
brilliant.
My God, it
Yeah, go on,
was
James.
unbelievable. What an experience that was from start to finish. As soon as you get the clubs out of the car, it's like they can't do enough for you.
Who was it had the fish and chips? Because I saw this on
Me.
social media. That was a shark and chip, surely.
It was a whale. Like it was absolutely massive.
Looked amazing.
It was one of the best fish and chips I think I've had in a long time, especially in a golf club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried some of it. It was incredible.
I
It was so good.
gave the boys both of it. I'm like, boys, you need to try this.
There
This
was
is just
plenty of it to go
unbelievable.
around, to be
And
fair.
yeah, there was. It could have fed like 2 families at least, but it was unbelievable. And then the boys had the burgers, which were equally just as good from what I gather. weren't
Golf
they?
podcast, James, not a food podcast.
Yeah,
Let's
sorry
get on to the
about
golf
that.
course.
Yeah.
How was
So
that?
we got to the golf course eventually after we had a 3-course meal. No, the golf course is exceptional. It's very fair, but it's very fun.
Mhm.
Like I think for me, it's like I do hit the ball a long way. So, but even
We'll get to that.
we'll get to that in a
God
second.
almighty.
You're wondering what this is right here, but but I think you can spray it around. You can take
Yeah.
a lot of things on. You can play conservatively. You're always in the hole, and I think me and Lewis saw that yesterday as well. It's like we played the golf course 2 completely different ways,
Mhm.
but ended up getting the same score pretty much the majority of the time as well. But we had a lot of fun, and the weather was incredible. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't speak highly.
Don't know
of
about
that-
you, I'm
more of that
actually-
course.
I'm going to sound like the most typical Scot here. I'm ready for a bit of rain.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? We've had
Yeah,
like a
it's
month
weird,
of
isn't it?
sun. I'm going out there.
Nah.
I shouldn't even admit to this because
have you
you
looked
know,
at the weather forecast next week?
people will probably grass me up to the polis, but I've been going out there with the sprinkler most nights under the veil of darkness because my neighbours are really nosy. So as soon as it gets just dark enough, about 10:30, I'm sneaking out, turning on the sprinkler, and yeah, I've seen a couple of curtains twitch, but
There's not a ban in place.
well, there's not. This is
Yeah.
my
No.
point. This is my point. There's no ban.
Right, okay.
There's an
yet.
advisory, and I'm taking that advice and choosing to ignore it because my grass needs to be maintained.
yeah.
So-
The people in the curtains just like those azaleas have got a bit more colour in them this
Yeah.
morning.
Those azaleas, by the way, are banging.
They
and
look
the
amazing.
rhododendron is just
They look
oh,
amazing.
incredible scenes. But no, glad to hear you guys had a good day yesterday.
was
Brilliant.
Off the back of a very good weekend for you, Mr. Tate. For those of you watching on
Yeah.
YouTube, you will see something nice and shiny here. As a Rangers fan, I needed to be told that this is a trophy. So what have we got here, James? Oh, Jesus God, it's heavy.
Yeah,
The-
it's got a bit of weight to it. That was quite.
The
I got-
North Sea Open, well, they'd got that wrong straight away. Very tin pot. You were playing in the North Sea Masters.
So it was
On
the
the
North.
European Long Drive Games,
Yeah.
and clearly, because you've got some silverware here, you won it.
I did.
Well done.
Thank you very
yes.
much. Thank you.
That is very
Yeah.
impressive.
It was nice way to start the long drive season this year, and all the hard work and the training and the lunchtime swinging speed sticks in the warehouse have paid off. So yeah, no, it's good to get it across the line. I struggled though. Like Saturday, I actually
You struggled.
Yeah.
You've got a trophy there.
I know.
I struggled.
But,
Here we go.
But I wasn't hitting it very well at all, and I actually just
that was
stop-
me at probably, like 60%. Imagine I could do 100.
no, it wasn't even that. It was believe it or not, tee height makes a massive difference in terms of club path and path direction.
Mhm.
So the higher the
I
tee
always
is,
found that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that shut up. the higher the tee, the more left you're going to want to hit it. And they had these teeing areas, and they put the tee on it, and it just sat massively in the air. And I just was mishitting it all over the place, and I couldn't get my head around it. So made a few adjustments. That was very Sean Connery of me there, wasn't it?
Made a few adjustments, this one.
Yes, made a few adjustments.
The North Sea Masters.
Straight, yes. And then made those kind of little tweaks and started absolutely sending it. So I was like,
So what was your
thank God.
winning drive in the end? How far
So,
did you hit it?
Everyone's going to be thinking it's going to be 400 yards, but just to paint the picture,
Temper expectations. I like to say that,
it was a 30-mile-an-hour headwind, so it was very tough. So 347
Jeez, oh.
Yeah, that's
into the
good.
wind was pretty good. I think
Pretty good.
I think my longest was about 355, 360 or something like that.
Jeez.
Bloody
Now,
hell.
you know what?
But
For
that wasn't
context, I
during
think it's
the final.
important, because people hear numbers and they're used to hearing
Yeah.
numbers about how far people hit it. For context, ladies and gents, the driving distance average on the PGA Tour this season is 300.9. The category leader is currently 323, and you're hitting a bad one into the wind, into a 30-mile-an-hour wind,
Yeah.
340 north of it, 350-ish.
Yeah.
Honestly, James, that is absolutely unbelievable. And I know
Yeah.
Lewis and producer Dex here, we're absolutely delighted for you. It's a great,
no,
as you say, a
appreciate
great
it.
way to start the year. We see the hard work that James puts in.
Yeah.
He's not kidding about the lunchtime speed sessions down in the warehouse, constantly putting in the effort. It's not easy to balance a full-time job like this and still be competitive like that.
No,
I mean,
I had to make a lot of sacrifices.
You have,
especially
yeah.
recently. But yeah.
and like we go home at the end of the day, you go to the gym, you go to the range, you go to the golf
Mhm.
course. So no, honestly, we're absolutely delighted for you.
No, I appreciate it.
Really
Brilliant.
impressive trophy. And the lid comes off. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well done,
So
James.
thank you very much.
Yeah, well
appreciate
done,
all the
James.
support and
Brilliant.
the kind words.
Yeah,
especially,
yeah.
and all that kind
yeah.
of stuff. And
Thank-
I
Just
Thank
keep hitting
God will you
miles.
next.
I know, I
So,
know.
listen, it's impressive, but it's not fucking Oscar, all right? So let's just
I just want to thank my goldfish. And,
right. Let's move on, shall we? There's a lot to get through.
Yeah.
Starting, of course, with the big question.
The Bunkered Podcast, brought to you by the new Elite Driver from Callaway.
Nice one. Thank you, Callaway, for your ongoing support of the podcast. The big question this week, gentlemen, what grade would you give the PGA Championship? Now that it's taken place, the second men's major of the year, won, of course, by Scottie Scheffler. What grade are we giving it? If Rory winning the Masters was like an A+,
A
where are
plus
we with
plus.
this? Yeah, A++, plus. Lewis, start with you first.
I'm giving it a C.
A C?
Yeah, sort of middle of the road. I think realistically, in around 10 years' time, are we
Mhm.
going to remember this major? Probably not. Certainly won't stand out in memories. But over the weekend, it was entertaining. Like, certainly on Sunday, there was a time where it looked like Scheffler, Ram, and DeChambeau were all going to be in
Mhm.
contention coming down the stretch. So it was certainly entertaining for that. And I really like watching Scottie Scheffler. I think he's generational talent. Absolutely.
Oof, he's gone there.
He is, yeah.
said that word.
Yeah, I have said it.
Trending
Watching-
last week, generational this week. So what will be next week?
Sorry.
A unicorn.
Yeah, unicorn, yeah. Watching him over the weekend was really, really
Mhm.
impressive. I thought Saturday afternoon was just incredible.
Yeah, it
the way he
was.
finished his round on Saturday
Mhm.
was fantastic. There's some things that could have been better. Golf course left a bit to be desired, which I
Mhm.
think we'll come on
We
to.
will.
But overall, sort of middle of the road. I think C is probably about right if we're saying A is the best, and then all the way down to F-. Not giving it that.
Okay. James, you're obviously playing a little bit of catch up because you were in Germany winning
Yeah.
your trophy.
Yeah, I was.
It's very shiny. You must have been up all night polishing that trophy.
Yeah, I had to wear
So,
sunglasses.
yes. So now that you're catching up a bit on it, what grade are you going to give it?
I'm gonna give it a D.
A D.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think. I was playing a bit of catch up, and when I did tune in when I was in Germany, I did kind of feel like it was just another PGA tournament.
Mhm.
But that was my kind of feel. Like, yes, there are big names in there, but it just didn't. It was for me. It was lacking something.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Lewis. I think when you saw Ram and DeChambeau, like when I turned it on, I was like, oh wow, like
Mhm.
Ram's, on Scottie's heels here, and
Mhm.
then just
And then wasn't.
Yeah.
wasn't, and then
Splash,
just
splash.
started to just try and find every part of water on the golf
Yeah.
course. So it had potential to be something and probably be more of a B- or something like that of a tournament in terms of excitement. But again, I just feel like I'm just tuned into another PGA Tour
Yeah.
event. That was kind of my feel on it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Pretty much the same. And to be honest, if I'm looking at the
D,
sort of
D as
replies, well, between a C and a D, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and a major should always be an A.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it should be the best of the best. And there's elements you can't control, intangibles you can't control. But I thought the parts that could have been controlled, which we'll come to, they didn't do a great job of. And by they, I mean quite a lot of different people. And I think our feelings pretty much are reflective of the consensus on social media. We asked the same question there on the Bunkered Facebook and X accounts. Bryce Mapes said B- or C+. So C then, Bryce, presumably. It was close midway through the backside. Then all of a sudden it was over. Really wanted to see someone contend with Scottie. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep.
Julian Curran, some awesome golf played at times. However, no real excitement down the stretch as Scottie had it sewn up with 4 to play. Too many players backed off over the last round, so I'm giving it a C+. Roll on the open and some wind at Port Rush.
Yeah, I
There
agree
you
with
go.
that.
Yeah.
Adrian Northall, sadly a C- or thereabouts. We turned off and went to bed before the last 6 or so holes were played. I suppose that's a compliment to Mr. S, but having no expectations of drama makes for a hopeless viewing experience. Craig Patrick, a little bit more positive. He gave it a B. Fair play to Scheffler. Not his fault. Nobody else could match him. That is a very good point.
That is a
I mean, it's
solid
not
point,
Scottie
yeah.
Scheffler's fault.
No, definitely not.
No.
On the whole, though, the USPGA just feels like a normal PGA Tour event, echoing what you said there,
Yeah.
James. James Jeffrey gives it a D. Joe Barta, B+. Robert Patrick gave it an A, but didn't expand on why.
Oh,
Was he watching the same tournament?
Maybe Robert was watching
Yeah.
the Masters
Yeah.
last
Maybe.
month and was
Maybe.
catching up.
Playing catch
maybe
up.
he had money on Scottie Scheffler.
Maybe a lot. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
What's his surname? Robert Patrick. Do we know what Meredith Scheffler's maiden name
Oh,
was?
possibly.
Maybe
There
Meredith
you go.
Patrick. Unless you were a member of the Scheffler family, then yeah, I think everyone would agree it wasn't exactly the most compelling major championship that we've had, certainly in recent memory. And yeah, there were probably a number of reasons for that. The golf course, to your point, Lewis, Quail Hollow, I didn't think was set up particularly well. It wasn't certainly the Sunday setup. I thought was kind of set up almost for a procession, a bit of a coronation for Scheffler. It didn't feel like there was a huge amount of latitude for drama and excitement, apart from obviously the last 3 holes where, you know, if I hear the Green Mile one more time, I swear to God.
Good film, though.
Yeah, great film.
Decent film, somewhat overrated,
All right.
Oh,
but won't
dear.
get into
just
that.
like this tournament.
Is it just like this
maybe.
podcast? Just like this year, this bit of silverware.
Hey, there's nothing overrated about that. What are you on about?
So yeah, the course, I didn't think the setup was great. Plus, we see it every year around this time. It's a bit familiar. I don't think they should be taking major championships unless they can avoid it to courses that host regular tour stops. That's
Yeah, I
part of the reason why the open rota courses are so special. You see them once every 9 or 10 years, or in the case of St Andrews, well, you see it rather a lot, but it's St Andrews. I do think St Andrews is overused though, and I think I've said that before.
Yeah.
So the course for me, not great. I'm going to say something that's probably going to land me in hot water. I'm going to get
Go on.
quite a few DMs
right.
from pals about this. I thought the TV broadcast was really, really flat. I love Sky, right? I'm going to put my cards on the table there. I do think what Sky Sports do is fantastic. And they've elevated golf coverage to a whole other level. But I thought the first 2 days in particular, there wasn't much energy in the commentary. I love Andrew Coulthard, great guy, great fun.
Yeah.
Rich Beam likewise, Radar, Nick, Doherty, they're all great and they're all really, really nice people, which makes this difficult.
Yeah.
But I have to call it as I see it. I mean, at times I felt like I was tuning into Gogglebox where they were having a bit more fun talking about the golf than I was having as a viewer watching it and listening to them.
Yeah.
So
See,
at times it felt a wee...
I get
I
what
hate
you're
to say
saying.
it, but it felt a wee bit self-indulgent.
I
at
get what
times.
you're saying. I think it's difficult. For me, crowds probably didn't help with that. And that there wasn't a lot of energy. It seemed like there was times when Ram was getting into contention. It didn't really feel like there was roars going up around the golf course.
Very true.
That probably makes it difficult for coverage to kind of make it exciting, because if people on the ground aren't they don't seem to be that into what's going on, it's going to be hard for guys in the commentary
You say that, but
box
there
as well.
are other things that you can do to elevate that coverage. You know, it's It's the same title music, for
Mhm.
example,
Yeah.
going out
Yeah.
and into breaks. It's the same music that you get for the Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
This is a major championship. It should sound different. It should sound special. There should be gravitas to it. The studio setup that they had, overlooking the 18th fairway, was all right.
Mm-hmm.
But Sky, I remember they used to have these really nice, somewhat elaborate looking studios. I get they cost money, right? I'm not
Mhm.
daft. But you had David Livingston at the center of it, a proper broadcaster with broadcaster nous and chops who held it all together magnificently. When you watched the Masters or the PGA or the US Open as recently as 5-6 years ago on Sky, you felt like you were watching something really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
The PGA, and granted, bear in mind, I didn't see the Masters.
Yeah.
Was there.
Yes.
Didn't see the Open, the most recent major before that, because I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And the US Open, the one before that, I was in Germany for the football. So the last men's major I watched on Sky was the PGA last year.
Yep.
And for me, there's not enough of a point of difference between what they do for a major versus what they do for some regular tour events. This was like a signature event on the
Yeah, it
PGA
was.
Tour, really,
Yeah.
in terms of the look and feel.
Just an elevated PGA Tour event at the end of the day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really, that's what it felt
Yeah.
like.
It's tough because we're comparing it to the Masters and the Open. It's
Yeah.
never going to be that.
Well, it is the fourth of four.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's tough. Yeah, I thought the broadcast for actually showing the golf was really good.
Yep.
And there wasn't sort of nauseating ad breaks where that can be. Well, we see people across the
Yeah.
pond complain about that all the time. We don't seem
Yeah.
to have
Oh, the
too much of
Rolex
an
hour,
issue.
by the way, is
Brilliant.
tremendous.
Absolutely
Yeah.
Like,
fantastic. Yeah,
ad-free, awesome.
amazing. Yeah, so no complaints on that front. Yeah, maybe just lacking a bit of energy, but I think that's probably down to the tournament itself, which
Yeah.
we'll get onto maybe.
Felt there was a lot of in-jokes, and sometimes, I don't want to single anybody out in the commentary team, but there's a couple where you feel like anybody could do what they're doing because they're just talking about what they're seeing, but not providing much in the way of context or analysis.
It's just depth, isn't it?
Yeah. Prep, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
When you hear someone say, I mean, there's John Ram, and we're not really sure what he's been up to lately because we don't get to see him.
Yeah.
No, it's your job to go and find out that information
He's been
and
playing-
tell us.
Been playing on Live, all the information's there.
Mhm.
And there's plenty of stats on
Yeah,
Live now for
exactly.
people who want to be
There
available.
is.
I promise I'm not digging out Sky
No.
in a big way. I'm just saying it felt like that was Sky probably at 75 to 80% of its
Mhm.
capability, which is a shame because major championships should look and feel like a big deal. James, I want to ask you about the leaderboard. First couple of days, certainly the first day, a little bit of panic. How upside down it looked. All the big names seemed to be at the bottom of it,
Yeah.
and all the surprise names. I guess like your Jonathan Vegas and was
Luke
Matthew
Donald.
Pavon? Luke Donald was up
Donald,
there.
yeah.
Davis Riley, guys like that. People were, I think, freaking out that
For the
this
big
was-
names.
Yeah. Is that a problem when you don't have that stardust sprinkling in the top 10, 20?
I mean, when it comes to majors, yeah, I think you want to see the best of the best and the guys who are the best in the world in that top part of the leaderboard.
Mhm.
When they're not there, you'd be like, oh my god, is this going to be? This is anyone's
Yeah.
essentially. But obviously, as Scottie Scheffler does, he just goes around his business the way he does, and he'll never give up, and you just keep chipping away, and we saw that, and all of a sudden he's running away with it.
Yeah.
So eventually, the best players will come through. I think
The cream rises. Like
yeah,
they like to say.
exactly. I think day ones can always be a little bit nervy with that kind of situation, but your best guys are always going to just keep plodding away, and they might not be there for the first couple of days, but they'll start to kind of climb day
Mhm.
3, and then 4 they're in contention all of a sudden. So they know they've got all the ability in the world to go 64, and then they're right back in it. So,
Yeah.
but I know what you mean. It is a little bit. Oh no, is this going to be like someone out of nowhere just like taking it home?
Are surprise winners, Lewis, are they a bad thing?
I don't think they're a bad thing. They're almost becoming a thing of the past at the moment. You
Mhm.
look at the last few winners of major championships; it's the best players in the world.
The biggest surprise recently was probably Brian Harman at the Open a
Yeah,
couple of years
since
back.
then,
Yeah.
there's not really been
Mhm.
any massive shocks, which is strange. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily if they're entertaining. Ryan Harmon was tough because he won by about 14 shots in the end.
And the wind and the rain.
Yeah.
Which was incredible.
Lower center of gravity.
Yeah, yeah, well, true.
When
Yeah,
it
what-
rains, Brian's the last to know.
Did
Yeah, exactly.
he hold
Yeah.
something like 58 out of 59 putts inside 10 feet that
Did he?
week?
Yeah, it was something
ridiculous.
it was
Like, and
mental.
the one that he missed was on like the 17th when he'd already won. Something crazy. Yeah, anyway,
He
surprise.
deserved it.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh,
let's
he
be
did
honest.
deserve it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Fair play. Surprise winners, I think, are probably not a great thing for the tournament. They want Scheffler to win, or like big names like that
Mhm.
to win. For us watching at home, it can certainly be exciting. But yeah, we've not seen it in so long. I think the top players are so good now and
Mhm.
so dominant that you've got that group of sort of maybe 8 to 10 players who are always going to be up the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Someone from them has won every major in sort of recent memory back to
Mhm.
Harmon. So we haven't seen a surprise winner in quite a while, which is
Yeah.
unusual.
And of the players, I mentioned it was a slow start for the top 10 players in the world in particular.
Mhm.
Scottie was the only one of them inside the top 20 after
Yeah.
the opening round. And then obviously scythed his way through the field over the next 3 days.
Mhm.
James, how impressive was his performance? Is there anything about him in particular that impresses you?
I think it's just his mental approach. And like, imagine being that far back after day one, and you're just like, oh God, I've really got to like do something here.
Mm-hmm.
But you just got to trust the process. Like you've done all the prep, all the practice. Your caddy is obviously going to be in your ear as well, which is going to be
Good caddy.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Great caddy. So, I think that partnership, you just know what you're capable of doing, and I think, yeah, it's incredibly impressive to see someone kind of be. It's not even that far back, shall we
Yeah.
say, but even just to look and be like, right, this is what we kind of need to do over the next couple of days, and then execute it.
Mhm.
Very impressive, and then also to win by as much as he did in the end
Yeah.
as well is again just a testament to how good Scottie Scheffler is and why he's world number one.
I think, Lewis, the thing that impresses me most about him is that he makes so few mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's given himself. For example, the best way I can compare it is to Rory in the final round at the Masters.
Mhm.
Their final rounds were very, very different. Rory was a little bit
Mhm.
error strewn, but then would recover with shots that you're going to replay time and time and time again.
Yep.
I can't think of a single shot really that Scheffler hit in his final round
No.
that you're going to watch over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Unlike the 15th for Rory at Augusta.
Yep.
Or even the shot out the trees at 7 at Augusta in the final round.
Uh-huh.
Struggling right now to even think of one that Scheffler hit that I've gone, I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
The difference is he doesn't really make many mistakes.
No.
Puts the ball where he wants to put it and just slowly wears the course down.
Mm-hmm. His bad shots aren't that bad. That's, golf is a game of misses,
Mhm.
is what we always say.
Yeah.
And his ones are usually fine. Like, look at his tee shot on the second on Sunday. He's bogeyed the first, and you think, oh, that's a bit unusual. Pulls his drive left on the second, you think, oh, this isn't like Scottie Scheffler at all.
Mhm.
Gets up there, finds it, and granted, he got a little bit lucky with the lie, hits a wedge onto 25 feet and holds it. And you think, okay, you've actually hit a really bad tee shot there. You've hit a good wedge, you've still made a birdie. Like, that's...
He's a demonic putter as well. He doesn't get enough credit for how good he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he needs to hole a putt, he quite often does. He'll miss his fair share, but then something like that to sort of steady the ship early on, he'll do that. He holed another long putt. I think it was the 5th or 6th,
Mhm.
front 9 as well, to sort of keep the wheels on a bit. What impresses me the most is, James kind of touched on it, the way that he can bounce back from making
Mhm.
mistakes. I think through those first 3 rounds, he'd made 6 bogeys, or 5 bogeys and a double. And on 4 occasions, he made either birdie or eagle on the hole straight after it.
Jeez.
So when he's actually
That's pretty impressive.
faced with adversity, he doesn't back it up with another mistake. He goes and just gets the shot back, which is so underrated to be able to do that, because you look at some players who might drop a shot and then the wheels kind of come off. That doesn't happen with Scheffler. Even on Sunday, he said himself, this really stood out to me, like in his post-round presser, and that he said on the front 9 he was just hitting it left all the time. He couldn't work out why he was hitting it left. So on the 9th, I think he said to Ted Scott, like, watch me hit this shot and see if I'm doing anything wrong. Ted was like, no, the swing looked good. It just went left. Maybe just aim a little bit right. Scheffler was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then he did that on 10 and striped it down the middle. And he was like, all right,
I guess
fine.
I'm aiming further right.
Ah, it's
I'll
that
just-
easy.
Yeah, I'll just do that. So that's what kind of impresses me the most, is that he doesn't overcomplicate things. something's
No.
going slightly wrong, he just thinks,
Mm.
oh well, I'll just make a slight adjustment, and then he goes back to being the best player on the planet. So
Must be nice.
it must be nice. Yeah, we should maybe all try that. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, hugely impressive. He's now a 3-time major champion, halfway to the career Grand Slam. I think it's fair to say he's probably the next most likely to do it. Jordan Spieth's got to wait another year. You know, Scottie could feasibly win the career Grand Slam this year if he gets the US Open and the Open, which seems crazy to think, but
Yeah.
he's separating himself. We're going to talk a bit more about Rory and all of that driver nonsense in part 2. There's a lot we need to get into around that. We're not going to ignore it, but there's a few other points we want to get to before we get to that. We're going to give it its own space, if you like. I want to touch on Bryson DeChambeau, John Ram, their performances. You know, Ram looked like he was really going to contend coming down the stretch until he faltered so badly, like James, you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Bryson, another major where he's been in the mix, coming off the back of his run at the Masters. I mean, these guys, are they, I don't know, are their performances in recent majors, is that a vindication, James, of sorts for the much maligned Live Golf League?
I don't know. But my kind of gut is telling me yes. I think because you're only playing 3 rounds of competitive golf and not 4, I think that mental endurance and toughness kind of maybe starts to kind of wear you down a little bit in that final round. There's a lot of golf that these guys are playing, especially through that week in a major as well. I think they might not quite have that extra little bit in the tank to really
Do you think,
kind of
I mean,
focus.
could they honestly have forgotten how to play 4 rounds?
I think it's just, I generally just think it's fatigue. I just think it's reps. I think they're maybe just missing, like, the boys that are playing on the PGA Tour, 4 rounds of competitive golf every week.
Mhm.
They're playing 3.
Unless you miss the cut.
Yeah, well, yeah.
In which case you're only getting 2. You're guaranteed 3 rounds at least on Live.
Yeah, but I think for me, I think it's lack of reps and also the type of pressure going down on that final day as well.
Mhm.
I just don't quite think it's the same on Live than what it is, especially in a major championship.
Okay. Interesting point there, Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to play devil's advocate and sort of err on James's side for a second.
Yeah.
Bryson was going great at the Masters final round, faltered.
Yeah.
Ram was going pretty well at the PGA final round, faltered. These guys are out of the habit of playing 4 rounds of competitive golf. I don't think they've forgotten.
No.
They're the best players in the world.
Yeah.
But when you're out of the habit of doing something, it's hard to get back into the habit of doing it, is it not?
I guess so. I don't think it's fatigue. Like, John Ram had a putt to be leading the tournament on the back 9 on Sunday. I don't think he's suddenly getting to like the 65th hole tournaments and thinking, oh God, I'm knackered here. I'm never going to make it to the end. I just think it's so hard to win majors, but the guys are putting themselves in contention. Like Bryson and Ram were right there going into the back 9. You could look at however many PGA Tour players and say, oh, like, what's going wrong with them? I don't think it's a case of just playing 3 rounds regularly. I think what you're saying about pressure maybe has something to do with it, and that they're getting to that point. But you could say that for
Well, they
anyone.
don't play with a huge amount of jeopardy on Live. There's no cut line to make.
Yeah.
That's
And,
something.
you know, what's the big event on Live?
Mhm.
No one really knows. They're all the same.
Yeah.
You know, is there a Live major in the offing? Is there the
Yeah.
one that's most important to win? They all play for the same amount of prize money. So, you know, week to week in the PGA Tour, prize money fluctuates. It's still massive, but it fluctuates. So maybe that lack of jeopardy is a
Possibly.
bit of a hindrance. But I just think I think your point's right. It's hard to win major
Yeah,
championships.
both
Can't all do it.
Both the players that we're talking about in Ram and Bryson had really good weeks.
Mhm.
Bryson's been having good weeks in majors for a long time now. He's just not quite been able to get it over the line. And that's a whole other story about why he's maybe not quite going and running away with a major. Because I think some parts of his game, he can absolutely do it.
Yeah.
And then we can get into, like, we could have 20 minutes in his iron play and why that's not quite stacking up to it. But yeah, I don't think it's a case of endurance. It's just difficult. But
I think
they're right there.
I think with Bryson, there may be an element of endurance, and I'm going to tell you why. Purely because of how hard he's trying to hit the golf ball when you're trying to do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Energy sapping.
from my standpoint, obviously, like what I do, I'm knackered. Like when I go and practice hitting golf balls, he's doing that on the range, then going and playing a full round of competitive golf as well. So there might be a little bit of fatigue in there for someone like him.
Do you think he's doing too much, like playing
But
too
then
much golf, hitting too many balls?
Well, I mean, he's obviously been doing he's been doing that YouTube stuff as well on the side. He's been live. He's obviously showing up at the majors, doing incredibly well, but then falling off a little bit. I think he's maybe overdoing it a bit. I just know from personal experience, when you're trying to consistently chase speed and trying to hit a golf ball as hard as possible, that you are knackered.
Yeah, but he's playing the best golf of his career.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I mean, it's not like he's showing up at majors and he's not winning them. He won the US Open less than a year ago.
Mhm.
He was tied second at the PGA. The best player in the world ran away from him.
Mhm.
I think you may make a point in terms of, like, if Bryson keeps doing this, at some point he will reach a point of exhaustion or fatigue. I think he's miles away from that just now. He's playing some of the best golf on the planet.
Yeah.
And with all these, what we would class as distractions, he seems to be managing it pretty well because he's bringing out the best in him. 1 point on the live guys, 15 of them took part last week. 8 of them made the cut. I think that's a pretty good return. 3 of them in the top 10.
Not bad.
Joaquin Niemann getting, I think, his first ever top 10 finish in a major.
Number
That's
one
right.
player in the world, him.
Of those that missed the cut, a couple names stand out. Brooks Koepka, I mean, 3-time winner of the PGA, 9 over par. First time he's missed the cut in the PGA. First time he's ever missed consecutive major cuts off the back of the Masters. Something's not quite right with Brooks, I feel like. DJ, though, is the big surprise. His numbers on live, his stats, actually pretty good this year. I mean, he beat only one tour pro. To take all the club pros out, and we're coming to them.
Wow.
He beat only one of his tour peers at Quail Hollow. 78, 76. I think he's now, how many major championship cuts has he missed? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 missed cuts in his last 7 major appearances.
That's a lot.
Sad.
It's sad, and it begs the question,
The end of it,
at that level, is he done?
I think so.
Oof.
It's pointing to that.
Mhm.
5 missed cuts out of 7 is poor. It's a shame because DJ, sort of 6 or 7 years ago, was one of the best players on the planet. I mean, he was world number 1.
Yeah,
so
5 years ago even.
yeah, not even as long as what I'm saying. But yeah, something just doesn't seem to be quite there in the major championship stage at the moment for DJ. It's tough.
He's achieved rather a lot in his
He
career.
has, yeah.
31 professional wins, 2 majors. I genuinely think, I've said this before, that DJ is our generation's Greg Norman. Bit of a flat track bully. Should probably have more major wins for his talent and certainly for the amount of titles that he's won. You look at his CV, though, it's hard to argue with any of it. And he's now 40 years old. He'll be 41 come, let me see, the middle of June. So every player reaches a point when they can't sustain it any longer.
Yeah.
And hopefully not for DJ. I'd like to think he'll show up in a couple more majors, but
Yeah, I
we'll see.
just feel like he's not the kind of player who's as goal orientated as like a Justin Rose. Because he just seems like Justin Rose at his age, he's still playing. I mean, we saw it at the Masters. He's still playing incredible golf.
Mm-hmm.
He's still like adamant and setting out and winning more. Dustin Johnson, you kind of look at him and he just kind of looks like he's so laid back he could be asleep. You just don't know what's going on. Like he just seems like he's just out there hitting a golf ball and isn't really.
The thing is, he's always been like that, though.
Yeah.
I know,
I know,
he was like
but-
that when he was winning.
I know, but I feel like he's like that even more than what he was before. I mean, when you're getting paid that amount of money on live, I guess life's good, isn't it?
Life is probably very good for Dustin
For
Johnson.
him, yeah.
So I mentioned the club pros that were in the field. I'm just going to say it. There's too many of them. Simple as that. All 20 missed the cut, including Michael Block. They occupied the bottom 10 places on the leaderboard. Of the 40 rounds that they posted, all of them were over par. Not a single one even par, never mind under. They had a combined stroke average of 77.75.
Basically 78 then.
Yeah. 78,
Jesus, yeah.
essentially, yeah.
That's
It's
crap.
It's not great. And again, I'll probably get some heat for this. This is a major championship. I don't care that it's the PGA of America that owns it. Having 20 players out of your 156 that are, given lessons or working in a shop, it's too much.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
they're not bringing them in the right way. The only way to qualify for this is through the PGA Professionals Championship. the top 20 places get into the PGA.
Too many.
Mental.
Yep.
Why should you be getting into a major championship, one of the 4 marquee events in the game, by finishing 20th in an event? That's just, you can, if it was over the course of a season, that would be somewhat better. If it was like the order of merit. But it's not, it's 1 week.
Yep.
You could have a hot week, or actually, not even. You could have a totally average week, finish 20th. Congratulations, you're off the PGA Championship in 2 weeks' time. It's absolutely mental.
It's too
It's a major.
Yeah.
They should be playing alongside Rory and Scottie and John Ram.
Mm-hmm.
It's nonsense.
You look at the Open qualifying series, not even like Open qualifying itself. You look at the Open qualifying series, and most events will have, 1 or 2 spots?
Yeah.
And you need to be in the top however many places to actually earn them.
Activated.
That's
That's
to your
daft.
point. Yeah, even
3rd place at the Joburg Open, off to the Open.
Even that is
Nonsense.
fairly lenient. This is
Yeah.
mad. I think this week's probably shown it up more than what has happened in recent months.
Yeah.
Michael Block from a couple of years back, when he had an incredible week, is very much the outlier.
He is.
Yeah.
And that proves the point, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Michael
exactly.
Block was the exception, and we all got excited because he did incredible stuff. He gave great interviews. He had a hole-in-one playing with Rory, slam
that
dunks
was
it.
ridiculous.
He has tons of charisma, and it was easy to buy in because you don't see that all. I can't remember the last time you saw that.
No.
The problem is
So
that
rare.
what we had this week is more of the rule than the exception.
Yeah.
And it's not additive to the tournament in any way. The PGA of America probably think it's great. The
Mhm.
players, no doubt, think it's amazing.
Yep.
But what are they adding to the championship?
Well,
Nothing.
This is the thing, in that you look at some of the players who are missing out. Jordan Smith. There's so many examples, but Jordan Smith's quite a good one. He's just qualified for the US Open, which is brilliant. If he was playing the PGA Championship, he could have been. He's a legit possible contender.
Yeah.
There'll be others who are probably looking at that thinking, God, there's guys there who are shooting, like you say, none of them have shot level par or better. Someone like that who could be a legit contender in the major championships missing out because of that. I think it's right to have PGA pros in it, but 20 is too many.
20 is too many.
The
5's
way-
enough.
Like you say, the way that they're qualifying isn't.
Yeah, that's not the right way.
No.
I've got a solution. And
Go
it's
on.
similar
Go
to
on.
the one that I have for the Open, because you're quite right. The Open qualifying series, I think, is wrong. I think it should take the winner of national Opens around the world and elevate those events like the New Zealand Open, the Australian Open, the China Open, the South African Open. Win that, you're in the Open.
Yep.
All feeding towards that. It should be somewhat similar, I think, with the PGA, where rather than the PGA of America hogging all the spots, then the winner of the British PGA Championship gets in.
Mhm.
The equivalent in France, the equivalent in South Africa, Australia, etc. The PGA is a global movement. It's just the PGA of America has decided, but this is ours. Don't leave it alone.
Yeah.
Nah, enough of that. The game's global. Let's spread it out and let's have only the very, very best around the world taking part in majors, not some club pro who finished 20th 1 week.
Yeah.
Just not having it.
I think that's a good idea.
Excellent. I'll pass
Well
that
done.
on to them.
Yeah, pass
Thanks.
that on. Yeah.
Before the break, a very quick round of asked and answered, gentlemen. This is a new series of ours that seems to be going down pretty well. I'll give you the answer, and you have got to, what's the word? Reverse engineer it to figure out what the question is.
Okay.
So this week, if the answer is 239 microseconds, what is the question? Whilst you think about that, some answers from our witty followers on social media. Daniel Storton, is it how long between adverts on an American golf broadcast?
That's good.
Nice. David McLaren, how long till Brandel Chambly talks absolute nonsense again? Oh,
Not a fan there.
Ooh.
No need for
David,
that. Yeah.
you're hard.
Oh.
I like Brandel. Just going to put that out there.
You're right.
Andrew Hunter, the amount of time that Rory's PGA Championship driver spent going down the line of the fairway. Yeah, he doesn't have a great week, Rory, as we'll come to. Ricky Mahat, the time Tyrrell Hatton takes to select the appropriate sweary words after he lobs the toys out of the cot.
Appropriate's quite a word there.
Doing some heavy lifting,
Yes.
isn't it? Graham Marr, how long after hitting a shank does the first expletive come out? Yes.
Yeah.
That would be an answer.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
Kevin Tinmouth says, is it the amount of time during the final round of the PGA that Scottie doubted he would win? I'm not even sure it
No,
was as
less.
much.
Yeah.
That was 239 microseconds. Gentlemen,
Yeah.
your guesses.
How long did the dram of whiskey last in the first tee at Dunbarney yesterday.
Ah, I heard about that.
Yeah, they've got
Barney
like
do a very good whiskey.
They've
Yeah,
got
it
a
was.
special whiskey. It's like a collaboration with
Loch
Loch
Lomond.
Lomond whiskies.
Right, okay.
So you can buy it in the pro shop. Might need to. I didn't
Need to
get
invest?
someone that. Yeah, I might need to invest.
It
in
was
that. I've
actually
been
very
thinking
good,
about it.
wasn't
It
it?
was brilliant.
Did it go
yeah.
down nicely? Yeah.
Very
Very
nicely. Yeah,
excellent.
you would
Very
have loved it, Michael.
Okay, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Next time, maybe.
Yep.
It's not that, Lewis, but good,
All right.
good guess. Good
Thanks.
guess.
I didn't think it was, to be
Yeah.
fair.
This is not going to be it either, but it's how long it took Lewis to eat his chicken burger.
Yeah.
Hungry
At
were
the
you,
bar,
Lewis?
Yeah, it was
because
hungry, yeah.
I've never seen that disappear so quickly in my
gone.
life. It
Yeah.
was
A
gone.
combination between eating fast and typing really furiously.
Oh,
yeah.
Lewis has a bit of a reputation in our office for bashing keyboards. I've never known anyone to A, type so much, and B, type so angrily. You said to us over the years, I had a bit of a temper when I was younger. If you
That's
listen
not
to
nice.
Lewis, you'd know fine well that that's not
His
the case.
fingers do the talk.
His fingers.
Jesus.
He's the original keyboard warrior.
Yeah. How long it takes him to type 1,000 words.
It could be that. No, the correct, the serious answer,
Mm.
if I may, it's 239 microseconds is the maximum permissible characteristic time, or CT, of a driver. CT measures the time it takes for a club face to contact the ball, how long it spends in contact with the ball after impact. So basically the amount of time that the club face and ball are in contact, the maximum permissible time.
Trampoline.
The trampoline effect, indeed. And we are going to be talking more about that in part 2 of this week's episode of the Bunker Podcast in association with Callum.
Tee off with our exclusive Hot Eagle breaks at McDonald's Golf Hotels and Resorts, including Spey Valley Aviemore and Cardrona Resort in Peebles, both recent hosts of the Tartan Pro Tour, with stunning locations and a championship golf course featured at both 4-star hotels. One-night golf breaks from only £95 per person at Cardrona and £115 per person at Spey Valley. Be flexible on date and get the best rate. But be an early birdie. Limited spaces available. Search McDonald Hot Eagle breaks for more.
Welcome back. Part 2 of this week's Bunkered Podcast in association with Callaway, Michael, James and Lewis, and a shiny new trophy all here with you. Before we get... honestly, James, stop polishing your trophy in company. It's not appropriate.
Sorry, Mum.
Before we get into the Rory stuff, I have to let you know an exciting development for Bunkered last week. We launched our first ever edition, our mini mag rather, on Apple News. Apple's becoming quite the platform these days for us. I'm trying to think of the last time Apple tried something and it just didn't work. The iPod has changed the music industry.
Yep.
The iPad is changing the publishing industry. MacBooks and iPhones,
AirPods doing all right.
AirPods,
Pretty popular.
AirTags.
Yeah,
AirTags.
for your golf
Yeah.
clubs. Yeah.
Yep.
When
know
Apple
what
does
they're doing.
something,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
tend
yeah.
to do it pretty well. And certainly for us, it's been a fun experiment working with them to try and deliver new content or even old content in new ways.
Mhm.
So if you have an Apple News account, well, let's start with Apple device, iPhone, tablet, laptop, whatever. Go to your news publisher app, which should be preloaded. If not, download it from the App Store for free. And then you'll find us just by searching for the Bunker channel within it. You'll find all of our latest news. There's tons and tons and tons of free content. If you want to read the mag that way, and I think this is particularly good for people outside of the UK, because we only sell in UK newsstands. You can get an international subscription if you want, but this might save you some money. I'm sure the bosses are delighted that I just said that. So if you have an Apple News Plus subscription, if you're in the US, Canada, or Australia, or the UK, then you can read a ton of magazines. Ours is one of them, and there are exclusive copies of Bunkered there, fully optimized, fully digitized for this brave new Apple world. So yeah, our first mini mag is live. One of the articles in there's 4 articles, so as I say, it's a proper mini mag. The first of the articles is looking at AI and the impact that that's having on the golf industry at all levels. And there's a few other bits and pieces in there as well. And there's more coming. So yeah, my advice, if you are an Apple device user, get yourself an Apple News Plus subscription and then start enjoying more of our content if you like us. If you don't.
There you
Anyhow,
go. That's it.
yeah, that's that.
That's that.
Thanks, Steve Jobs.
Cheers, Steve.
Nice
Great
one,
job
Steve.
done.
Well
Or
done.
Tim Cook, I think it is these days.
Hmm.
Right, gentlemen, we need to talk about Rory.
Yes.
You've been putting it off, haven't you?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. I think first things to say is that it wasn't a great week for him. Tied 47th, I think he was.
Yep.
Coming off the back of that momentous achievement at Augusta National last month. Maybe we should have expected some rust. Maybe it was going to be too much of an ask to achieve something that big, that seismic, certainly on a personal level, that seismic, and then come straight into another major 4 weeks later and try and contend. So tied 47th. The result probably wasn't the big deal. There were two issues, and we'll try and address them both. Let's deal with the driver first of all, chaps.
Yes.
We found out, I think it was Friday evening, Saturday morning, that Rory was randomly selected by the USGA, who were invited by the PGA of America to do some driver testing at the event. Rory was one of the 50 or so players, around about a third of the field, that was randomly chosen to have their drivers tested to make sure that their tolerances hadn't slid. You know, because quite rightly, these clubs are set up as close to the line as possible. I mean, why wouldn't you squeeze out every competitive advantage you could get? That to me wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to make sure that the drivers weren't right up to the limit. But because they get pushed to the limit, because they get used a lot, sometimes they can slide beyond the permissible line, that 239 microseconds that I was describing. So that's why they do these random tests week to week to make sure that the playing field is somewhat level. Rory was one of the players selected and was one of, we gather, 9 or 10 players whose drivers failed the conforming test.
Quite interesting.
So he was forced to then obviously make a change prior to teeing off. This is really important. Rory didn't use that driver in play competitively last week. Had he played with a non-conforming driver, he would have been disqualified. The tests were done before the championship got underway for all the players who were tested, and they were given that time. I think it was Tuesday the tests happened. They're then given that time to put a replacement in play. A replacement, by the way, they already have in the bag. Unscrew one head, screw on the other, job's done. What's interesting is that Rory was the only player, until Xander grassed up Scottie Scheffler on Sunday night, Rory was the only player whose name was leaked. Somebody has given that information to somebody. I've seen someone say, this is the media dark arts again. The media don't do the testing. We're not in the room. It can't be us. Somebody has given that information to somebody and it's found its way to the media. Okay? So somebody shouldn't have spoken, because apparently this is meant to be confidential, but they did. They broke that omerta. Rory was suddenly implicated. And then what do you get? The usual clowns coming out on force and on social media going, he must have cheated to win the Masters.
Shut up.
Thank you,
Nonsense.
James. Thank you.
Total nonsense.
It's nonsense, isn't it?
Muppet.
Because Rory's driver could have been legal on Monday. Could have taken it to the range on Tuesday, hit it half a dozen times, and that would have maybe pushed it beyond the limit. So there's nothing to suggest that Rory had a non-conforming driver at the Masters, nor that he was, worse yet, aware of the non-conforming driver. That is the height of intellectual dishonesty and stupidity. So to all you live bots or whoever else that's a Rory hater giving it the biggin on social media the last few days, shut up. You're talking guff.
You're talking utter shite.
You feel better? Yeah, good.
You've been holding on to that for a few days.
You look lighter and fresher now.
Good.
Nice
Let
one.
that one out.
There you
go.
Nice shirt.
Seve's
logo. This is deliberate, by the way. Seve, today is the 30th anniversary of Seve's last win on the European Tour. So I thought I'd honour him with the little Seve polo top
like it.
from the Seve collection.
Yep.
Check out. Very good. So, gents, your thoughts on the Rory driver issue. Was it an issue? Was it a story? Was it a non-story? Lewis, I'll come to you first.
Yeah. Well, it's a story in that he's had to change his driver. And I think that's probably impacted him mentally more than anything. Like, it's basically the same club, but it's probably thrown him a little bit off. In terms of, like, the whole cheating thing, you summed it up perfectly. Like, that's not happened. I'd honestly say there's a good chance that Rory will be testing his driver pretty regularly. Like, tour trucks, we've seen it, James, they have these machines on them which tests the CT that we're talking about off the driver. So there's no way he's putting a non-conforming club in play. And as soon as it's been tested, he's taken it out. So there's no issue with that at all. He's not tried to cheat the system. in any way. He's followed the same protocols as Scottie Scheffler and several others, by the sounds of it, who have also failed. So, yeah, he's not done anything wrong in this case. But I think it's maybe thrown him a little bit. We don't know because
Well, he
for
didn't
another
speak.
reason, which we'll get to.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think he's not done anything wrong, but it's maybe hindered him slightly because he knows that it's not exactly the same club that he's used for the last however many months.
James, your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I hit drivers a lot. And even when we did like World Championships, World Long Drive, we had all of our club CT tested. Now, the one
When, out of curiosity, and how often? Was it just the once before the tournament?
So they'll get done at check-in. So as soon as you checked in, you would get all your clubs tested. There was one situation where one of the boys rocked up with 8 drivers and 7 failed.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it does happen. But the one thing I'd say is when Rory's on the range with TrackMan, hitting balls all the time, looking at numbers, consistently looking at numbers, the one thing that we as professional long drivers would always see is that the numbers would start changing.
What numbers
in
specifically?
terms of spin?
Okay.
So what you'd see is ball speed might increase because obviously the face is getting thinner and it's obviously spending less time on the face. But the spin would drop. So you start losing the forgiveness. So if Rory's drivers failed the CT kind of test by the PGA, there's a chance. The chances are that the forgiveness of that driver is also slightly compromised as well. So yes, he's hitting out the middle 9 times out of 10 in comparison to us mere mortals. But the forgiveness aspect as well will be slightly deteriorated as well. So you'd
have a hotter driver that's less forgiving. Is that what you're saying?
So yes, correct. So you can get a hotter driver that's less forgiving, but because he's so good and hits the middle of the club, he won't necessarily see it as obviously as someone else who's maybe hitting it slightly higher or lower on the face. But you will see numbers start to kind of deviate. So as soon as we used to see for us spin like drop, like I could have a driver head that was 2300 spin, all of a sudden it's down at like 1900 and I'm not doing anything different. I know that driver is definitely hotter, but it's not staying in the air long enough.
That's
as well.
interesting because some people would have you believe that the hotter the driver gets, that's only a good thing. But you're saying that there's a bit of offset, there's a bit of give and take.
Yeah.
The areas where you see the gains, you're actually losing in other areas. So that's,
Yeah.
I think that's important context for people to know because I'm pretty sure most people don't know that.
No, so and it's one of obviously the benefits and what I've learned over the years of doing what I do outside of that as well. So it's quite interesting. So when I saw that, I was like, well, it's not really been given him an advantage. If anything, it just shows you how good his ball striking is and being able to use that driver. But like anything, you move into a driver that isn't what you've been using for however long, and you go into something, it is gonna feel and sound a little bit different. Because I've had drivers where like that's my gamer, I absolutely love that, and then I go into something which is the newer head, and it feels different. It does feel.
Is there placebo effect in that as well, where it's just knowing that it's different is enough to throw you off?
Yeah, a little bit, I would say. I mean, you look at some of the guys on tour, they're using clubs which are like God knows how old.
Yeah.
Like if you start and you move into like a newer model or something, it's going to take a bit of time to bed it in and get used to the feel, the acoustics, and how it obviously spins and launches as well. So there's a bit of that as well. No club is ever really going to be the same, but obviously the pros are going to get the closest thing to that. And Rory with a second driver will have something similar. But again, I think it's more of a mindset as well.
Yeah. Lewis, Scottie Scheffler, who again, as we understand now, also failed. He did admit to that in his post-round presser.
Yeah.
And in that same conversation, he said that the testing should probably be changed. He thinks some modifications are required because, from his point of view, only testing a third of the field isn't good enough.
Yeah.
That's not protecting the field. He thinks that the entire field should be tested. Is that a fair comment? And frankly, is that even realistic? I mean, do we know how long that kind of testing takes?
I think that's a fair comment, yeah, because if you're testing a third of the field, then, and clearly a lot of those guys have failed this test, then that should be more widespread. I think if you can test everyone in the field feasibly, then you should do that. This test doesn't take long. You'll be able to speak better in that.
Yeah, it doesn't take
majors.
long.
It's not like an hour-long thing that you're doing, is it?
No, it's just a if you don't know what a CT machine is, it's literally like a little metal ball on a pendulum that just goes, literally taps the club face. That's
Really?
it.
All right.
And then it just it obviously shows you the
It's a couple of minutes, really, isn't
yeah,
it?
it doesn't take long. In my opinion,
A couple of minutes to do the test, or a couple of minutes to do the test and get the results?
no, you get the results then and there.
Mhm.
Like it would
Jeez,
just
okay.
show, like you'd have it on a laptop. It goes ping, like cool. You just do it 3 times, done. You're literally done in like a minute or 2. But you should be doing the whole field, not just a third of it. That just seems absolutely mental to me.
There is one problem with that, though.
Yeah.
It's not as if the entire field's there on the Tuesday. Phil Mickelson showed up
True.
on Wednesday night. So,
Yeah, I get that, but I think you're obviously going to go through your registration kind of part when you get to the tournament.
so
Just
do it there, you think?
Absolutely, like have your driver tested then and there. Everyone's done. You get like we used to have a little label put around the shaft at the bottom of it just to show that it was checked. So when you go through, maybe someone's going around the range just checking, making sure like your clubs have been checked.
Yeah.
It would be ticked off. And then if you had like a backup head as well, do that. It also.
It happens in other sports. Look
Yeah.
at World Rally Championship. Good example. So my dad does rallying, right? And what they do is...
Is that where you get your temper from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Road rage.
Colin McRae. Yeah, nah. So say the rally happens on a Saturday. And Friday night, all the competitors take the cars. Say it could be 150 cars, and they all go get tested exactly the same way. And if you fail it, then you need to either make the changes or you're not going out to compete. I know it's maybe an extreme example because of safety issues, whatever, but it can be done. It's done in other sports. And if this test is only going to take, say, 5 minutes maximum, it's doable for everyone.
Yeah.
I think certainly there needs to be a way where this is more widespread, because it doesn't seem right to me that only a
The
third
thing is,
of
over
the field to get
4
tested.
rounds as well, though. I mean, a club that's legal, let's say you do the test and everyone gets tested on the Tuesday, someone could, their driver could become illegal by the Thursday night or by the Saturday night or some point on the Sunday. So where are we drawing the line? I mean, if that test is that easy to do, should they be doing it twice during the course of a week? Should they do it before every round? That way we know that no one's using an illegal driver.
I think it should just be done at the start of the week. Like I think if you do it at the start of the week and then you go into the next tournament and then it's retest again, it's like that's failed. All right, cool. Then park it. Like I said, with these drivers the way they are, they are made hot from the get-go, so they're already pretty close to the limit anyway. So,
which again is totally right. That's how you should
100%.
manufacture clubs.
But then when you look at like the bulge and roll of a club head as well, as soon as that starts to flatten out, that's when it obviously starts to get hot. But again, you lose the forgiveness. So as a pro, and when you're playing in a tournament where you need to hit more fairways, I want that to be as forgiving as possible. So if I do slightly miss-hit it, I'm still going to hit fairways, not something which is, kind of flattened out, for example, and then starts kind of like getting a little bit leaky. That would be the last thing I want to see.
Okay.
So it's up to the pros as well. I would say during the round that if you start seeing a defect in your driver, you're going to change it anyway. So I think test it at the beginning of the week. Keep an eye on it in terms of looking at numbers and data and stuff. Kind of maybe Thursday, Friday, and then just park it after that. And then when you come into the tournament the following week, okay, check in. Let's test it. Okay, that's passed. That's fine, and then move on.
So in summary, the test could and should be modified. And Rory didn't cheat.
No.
What about this
He's
whole
none the
business of
wiser.
publishing the names? Because I thought the PGA of America's statement, they obviously came out and attempted to diffuse the situation, and ham-fistedly, I think, in some ways made it worse, where they said, that we keep the names secret, and yet Rory's name's out
Well, you
there.
haven't.
I mean, if they're saying it's not as big of a deal as made out, then why the secrecy? Why not just say, these are the drivers that didn't pass this week, and off you go?
Yeah, I don't get the secrecy at all. I genuinely don't understand why. Maybe to like protect players, possibly.
From what?
But yeah, I don't
They're
get it.
changing the driver.
Yeah,
If anything, they're doing them a favour.
I have no idea why the secrecy is there. I'd like to come up with a theory. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if you have any thoughts on why that is, Michael.
Because the
but
PGA of America is a big organisation, and big organisations do what big organisations do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just get in their own way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And this is
I agree
absolutely
with
one
that.
of those cases.
Would you change the system
Yeah.
the way that it's done? What would you?
Assuming it's as quick and as easy as it's being made out, then yeah, I think
Yeah.
you should
Mhm.
test all drivers every week.
Mhm.
I don't think it's necessarily that difficult. If you can do 50, you can do 156.
That's my
Yeah.
thoughts.
The
Yeah,
as
other
well.
point
yeah.
is that on the PGA Tour, not all the fields are 156.
Mhm.
Yeah.
156 is the biggest field you're going to get.
Yep.
But, or give or take. Sometimes signature events, 70.
Mhm.
So if you can do 50, you can do 70.
Yep.
And I think it would just eliminate that suspicion, that doubt. It would, to Scotty's point, level out the playing field. Listen, I don't know what Bryson's driver was last week. Bryson finished tied second, got a lot of world ranking points, won a lot of money,
Mhm.
nearly won a major championship. Did he do it with an illegal driver?
Well, this is the
You
thing
know,
with the
that's
secrecy
the problem.
part of it. He could have been one of the other 6 or 7 who might have failed and had to put a
Exactly.
new one, and we just don't know.
Quite interesting though with Bryson because I know Lance Reader quite well because
Who's Lance?
is the CEO of Crank.
Right, okay.
And he used to give very kindly gave me a few crank heads when I first started out.
Contacts.
Contacts. Here you go. But they look at numbers all the time
Mhm.
and they can tell when a head is hot, when a head is not performing. And Bryson's exactly the same. It's like if it's not performing, he knows like you'll get rid of it. He's like, don't like that.
Mhm.
But he will take about 5 heads with him to a tournament. Just purely because he's hitting so many balls, and at that speed, the face will start to flatten. But the thing with crank drivers are the face thickness is that little bit thicker, and they're quite durable. So it
Mhm.
takes a little bit longer for them to get bedded in. But yeah, it's just a different kind of procedure. And Bryson's always looking at numbers, so he will know himself, and you will be able to tell just by looking at something if it's not right.
There you go.
Quite interesting.
Mhm.
Very quick point on the other Rory subject, because I think we've discussed this enough. And yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? But Rory didn't speak to the media at any point once play got underway. He did his pre-tournament press conference on Wednesday, I think, last week. And then nothing after any round. He was approached after each of the 4 rounds and refused each time, declined to do it. That probably didn't help him, if I'm
No.
honest, in terms of
No.
like the suspicion and questions that people have, legitimately or otherwise. People have questions about the driver. They want to know, for example, when he found out, how much of a problem it was to change it, how long had it been illegal for. Yeah,
Mhm.
obviously, some people want to know, was it illegal at the Masters? I can answer that. No, it wasn't. Move on. He's played,
Yeah.
3 times since then? I suspect he's probably been tested once in between those times. And if he's looking at his numbers as closely,
Mhm.
I think he's entitled to the benefit of the doubt that,
Yeah.
no, it was fine at the Masters. But yeah, not speaking just probably didn't do him many favours. My hunch, totally uneducated guess here, it felt like a little bit of a protest,
Yeah.
you know, at the
Good point.
driver news being leaked. Somebody at the PGA of America or USGA has got that information and done something with it. Given it to somebody else, who's given it to somebody else, who's given it to somebody else.
Hmm.
Rory's the only one who has been implicated in this whole non-story. And I wonder if he's just gone, well, you know what? You're getting nothing else out of me to promote your tournament for the rest of the week. 2 fingers, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of just taking knowing the flack that's going to come his way for not speaking to the media and being content with that because it means that he gets to, as I say, stick a finger up
Yeah.
at the official.
Possibly.
I think that's a fair point.
And by the way,
Yeah.
Mm.
totally on his side if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
no,
his name shouldn't have been leaked.
like, yeah, I think that's a very good explanation of why he's done that. I mean, if my name was leaked, I mean, your organization should be absolutely like watertight and nothing should be getting out. But the fact that you've done the test means someone in your organization has said something.
Yep.
It's like, you know, fuck you, basically. I'm not going to do that.
100%.
Like, why am I going to try and speak to the media and give more exposure to this event? Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable
If that's the
kind of
case.
like reaction.
It could just be that, you know, he's following what we're seeing, Lewis, as a bit of a trend. Colin
Yeah.
Morikawa he copped a lot of heat
Mhm.
for the comments he made. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with skipping media. You're not obligated to speak after
Yeah.
the loss. like you are in other sports. In tennis, they would have been fined.
Right,
Mm,
really?
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Because it's part of the agreement.
Uh-huh.
But golf doesn't have those things set in stone. So he's done nothing wrong, Morikawa. But again, it was what he said, his explanation for it. I don't know anybody, anything like,
Yeah.
maybe shouldn't have said that, Colin. Shane Lowry
Yeah.
made some comments at the Masters. Shane, a great speaker, always gives the media the time, but made the point that maybe there should be some compensation given to the amount of time between finishing the round and then speaking to the media. Like,
Yeah.
give me 20 minutes to cool down,
Yeah.
basically. Now Rory, who skipped a fair amount of media, by the
Yeah.
way, post-rounds recently, Rory.
Mhm.
It is a trend. And
Yeah.
is it a worry, though? Do we need to hear as much as we're hearing from these guys?
A little bit. It was disappointing from Rory, I thought, because, like you say, over the years, he's given the media loads. Absolutely. And we can't.
Over the
fault
last
him
5
with
years,
that.
no one's given us more.
Exactly. Yeah. So it feels hard to sort of bash him on this. It was just really unusual. Like skipping all 4 days. I could understand like Pinehurst when he's had like a, heartbreaking loss, but he's just sort of had a ho-hum week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think your explanation around the driver is probably most likely why he's done it. But again, we don't know. He's, finished tied 47th. Like it's not like he's had a disaster. He's just sort of had a week that he's going to forget pretty quickly. But he also won the Masters not very long ago. So it seems strange why he's not come out and
this
spoken
question's going to
even
be
just
asked.
once.
This question's going to be asked the next time
catching
he
up with
speaks to
him.
the media.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's just prolonging an episode that I think he could and should have put to bed.
Probably, yeah.
But if that is, if the protest explanation is the right one, I do understand it. And like I say, I'm kind of on his side. To the point of media commitments, I have a solution.
Go on.
I've got all the answers
yeah,
this
you
week,
do.
by
Yeah,
the
that's
way.
good.
I love this solution.
Uh-huh.
Go on.
Yeah.
I think that if you are brought in to do a pre-tournament press conference where you are previewing, by definition, what might happen, what you're intending to do, what you've changed, how you plan to attack the week and, finish it as the winner. If you're doing that, that is the start of the story.
Yeah.
There's a middle and an end that I think it's only appropriate that people get as well. So if you come in for a preview interview, you should be required to then speak on the Friday if you missed the cut to give people context on what went wrong. Or on the Sunday if you make the cut, where you can give context to hopefully how you'll be mandated if you win. But if you don't win, then okay, so here's how the week unfolded. This is what I said on the Tuesday or the Wednesday about how I was planning to attack it. Here's what happened.
Yep.
To complete the circle of the story. I think that's only fair. I think that's only reasonable.
Yeah.
You can't start telling a story and then just stop.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine like Forrest Gump? You only got the first hour, but then you didn't find out
what
how it
an
finished.
analogy that is. But yeah, I take
It's
your
like
point.
who
yeah.
goes to the cinema, watches the first half hour, and then goes,
Mhm.
"Well, that was good enough for
Yeah.
me. See you later."
It's like Rangers fans leaving, like
On the 55th
Yeah.
minute, yeah. But
So
I
good.
think that is.
Me and Jenny. You get to
You
that.
just see Forrest start running, but you don't know where he ends up.
Where's he running to? Is there a sequel?
So yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that's
that's reasonable. It's not a lot to ask, is it?
No.
Players come in and do the pre-tournament pressers, which is fine, and no
Yeah.
one sort of turns them down. So going and having even
Oh, some do.
well, yeah, I suppose some do.
Yeah.
For the most part, they don't. But yeah, having a couple minutes on Friday or Sunday should be
Yeah.
Speaking of, how did Phil get on last week? Oh yeah, missed it.
no bother.
Anyhow, gents,
Did you
let's-
see him? Sorry, before did you see him in the bunker?
Yeah, oh,
on-
jeez, oh.
That was I couldn't believe that. That's not Phil Mickelson.
That
what
felt
other
horribly
left-hander
familiar.
is that? Yeah.
Is it 4 shots to get out?
4 to get out. It's 3. Just only sand appeared. It's not a nice one to see.
His short game's usually pretty sharp.
Well,
as
out of
well.
all the players in the
Yeah.
field, he's the one you'd least
It's
expect
been
to do
a
that.
strength
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
the years.
yeah, you could say that. Yeah, somewhat renowned for that.
Let's move on. Let's round up the PGA chat with Podder of Merit. So last week was the PGA Championship. James, you went with Ludwig Oberg.
Unbelievable player.
Yeah, missed the cut.
Really
Yeah,
good
very
player.
good.
Yep, just what you wanted. I went with Justin Thomas,
At least
who
really
won the
good
PGA
record
there
at
before.
Will Hall,
Yeah.
Missed the cut.
Surprised by that, to be honest, with the way he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, over the last 2 years, maybe not. Over the last 2 months,
Yeah.
very surprised. That's come from nowhere. Really bad timing. Thanks, JT.
Good one.
And Lewis, you went with Rory, who, as we mentioned, finished in a tie for 47. So your tie for 47 beats our missed cuts.
That's such a joke.
2 points for tied 47.
Look, I was expecting to win, not quite in that way, but we'll take it.
I think Eric Cole was
Wins a
better
win.
than that.
You should pick your mate.
No, I've already picked him. Can't
So
pick him again.
that's had an impact at the top of the table. So Lewis has leapfrogged James. Lewis, you're now on 8 points. James, you are 1 behind on 7. And I'm somewhat adrift.
Somewhat.
I am the Southampton of this particular table. The Derby County in 2009, was it?
Can you get relegated from Fodder of Merit? Dex is going to be doing your,
So
your
I'm
choices.
on 2 points. It's
Right.
not going well. So I need to start turning that around. And maybe I could start this week with the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial, an event that gives away a jacket, I think. Another one of those.
Yeah.
So, Lewis, you pick first. James, you're second. And then it'll be yours truly. Lewis, who are you going with? And why?
I'm going with someone had quite a good week last week. That is Harris English. So
Very
I think,
good week with
Yeah,
Harris, eh?
tied second. Kind of went a bit under the radar.
6 under final round. wasn't it?
Yeah, shot up the leaderboard. I think he's had quite a good record at Colonial before the Charles Schwab. Quite a good putter. Hits most of his fairways. It's not a very long golf course, but it's quite tight. So I'm hoping that is going to suit him. I thought it'd be a little bit, rather than just picking like best players in the world every week, I'm going to go with someone who's a little bit more under the radar. So Harris
Nothing
English
wrong
is
with
my
that.
pick.
Good shout. James, how about you?
Similar to Lewis, actually. I'm going to be choosing someone who also
English
had a-
Harris?
No, English English Harris. No,
Harris Scotland.
I'm going to be choosing Davis Riley.
Oh, yeah. Again, another very good week.
Very good week. He's also won previously before at Charles Schwab as well, I believe.
I did not know that.
Alright.
So he is going to be my pick. But yeah, great week for him. Obviously a little bit of a blip in the final round with 1 over, but like the stuff that was in between that was
solid 4
was
days.
really
wasn't it?
good. Yeah, really solid 4 days. So Davis Riley is the man.
Okay.
Who's
I'm
missing
going
the
to
cut
go.
this week, Michael?
Listen.
That is a great roast as well.
That is
Unbelievable.
tremendous work,
Very,
Lewis.
very, very good patter.
So I'm going with Maverick McNeely. So,
Yeah,
and I'm
good
going to be
player.
totally shameless. I saw this on the PGA Tour's website and I really liked it. So, verbatim, Colonial has proven to be a second shot golf course, ranking 5th last season on tour in hardest greens to hit in regulation, including the majors. This is where McNeely can shine. Sprinkle in 3 top 3 finishes in 2025 with a little bit of contention at the PGA Championship, and that's a formula for success. I bloody hope so. I could use the 3 points.
Oh my god.
So come on, Mav. Don't let me down. Do
Dear
not let me
mate.
down.
Going with tournament previews to pick
I
players.
tell you what, if he misses a cut,
Yeah.
like we'll just
Oh,
ask
I'm
Michael
done.
who's going to miss cuts from now on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
We'll
new
give you-
game. That's
we'll-
the real
yeah,
question.
nah.
That's the
Who's
real
gonna miss
question.
I think
cut
he's a
this
good
week.
pick. Yeah,
But the
Maverick's a
good
good player.
players, which good player is going to miss the cut this week?
Yes.
Michael?
I mean,
McNeely.
I'll make
There
you
you
money.
go.
I'll
Yeah,
make you money.
yeah, okay.
Speaking of making money, very brief mention before we move on to Bear Lies for Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
There have been 95 majors now, have come and gone, that he has played in every single one. I've not explained that
Wow.
very well, but of the last 95 majors, Adam Scott has played in every single one. The last time he didn't feature in a major championship, a men's major, so I'm already anticipating the DMs, was the 2001 US Open. Scottie Scheffler at that time was 4 years old. So
Oh my God.
Adam, Tom Kim, by the way, not even born yet.
No.
Akshay Bhatia, not even born. So Adam Scott, pretty good longevity.
Wow.
That is actually incredible.
So he
isn't
can
it?
hit
about
100
that.
at next year's US Open at Shinnecock.
Yep.
So he's in the field for the US next month. He's in for the Open in July. He's obviously in for the Masters as a past champion. The PGA, I'm not sure he's in it just yet, but God almighty, it's the PGA.
He should get in.
Give him
Yeah,
an
he'll
invite
get
or a
in.
special
Yeah.
exemption.
If the 20 club
you
pros
can't-
are getting
Yeah,
in, Adam
exactly,
Scott
yeah.
should be
You
in.
can't stop a streak at 98
No.
or whatever it would be. So imagine he got to 100. The record for most consecutive majors without missing one,
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus, 146.
Oh my
Jesus.
god.
Played in every one between, I think, 62 and 98.
That's remarkable.
Decent.
Love
To
it.
not even just miss one to like injury
Oh.
or anything.
Wild.
That's
Insane.
longevity at its finest right there. Isn't it?
Certainly is.
Oh my god.
Anyway, look, let's finish
That's a
up.
lot of golf.
It's been a long episode. Thank you for bearing with us all this way. Speaking of bearing off, bear lives.
Oh, nice.
Thanks.
That's what we
Very
did.
good.
Solid.
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 Solid
James,
segue.
it's your turn this week.
Okay.
What you got for us?
You're sitting down.
I am. Yes, sorry.
We
just
are.
sorry.
We've been sitting down
Okay.
for a while.
All right, Lewis. That's enough.
It's gonna be a long drive.
Yeah. No.
probably.
No.
I won a tournament at the weekend. True or false?
Well, I did.
Oh,
It's right there.
yeah.
Did you see that?
True.
Beautiful, that. By the age of 18, I had
God.
3 holes in one.
Right.
That's a lie. I think someone who's played the amount of golf that you've played, I'm pretty sure that your first steps were taken with a golf club in your hand. For someone that's played that amount of golf in St Andrews, no
You think he's
less,
had more?
I think he's had more than 3.
Oh.
I think it's probably nearer 10
Well,
I love
James-
because he's
op-
probably
I-
counting
I,
like
I love
So-
your optimism.
James has told me a story before when he played in Scottish Boys a long time ago,
Listening.
and he
Good.
made a 1. Which is a bad time to make a 1, so it's match play because you only just win in the hole. You're not,
Yeah, I know.
not even signing a scorecard or
Yeah.
anything. But he's not told me about any others. So go on, take it away. What are the other
what
2?
are, what are the other ones?
So the first one I had was on the Bow Golf in
Told
St
you.
Andrews.
Yeah, you could be on something here.
When I was 12, on the 8th. The second was in La Manga on the West Course on the 8th hole
Right.
or the 17th hole. 'cause
Right,
I can't
sorry, stop.
remember which
Pause.
way, 'cause we
Pause
always
right
played the
there.
nines
No,
different way.
no. La Manga has a north and a south course. I don't think it has a west course.
It's got,
I've been to La Manga.
It's
Has it got 3?
it's
Is
got
it?
3 courses.
Does it?
Yeah. It's got an east, a south, and a west.
Not a
No,
north.
it's got north.
It's got a north course.
I mean,
the
a north, a south, and a west.
Why
Get
not an
your
east?
compass
Don't know.
points.
No east.
Right.
There's only 3.
Okay,
But yeah.
right. Go on. So
And then obviously the last one is the one which you know about, which was at the Scottish Boys
right.
at West Kilbride on the 12th.
Why were you in La Manga?
Just a family holiday.
Right.
That's,
the one.
that's where we used to go as a family because it was easy for us as kids because
Mm.
it's got pools, beach isn't far away, and we
Yeah.
can go for
And
golf.
golf courses.
And golf courses
Yeah.
as well.
However many of
Mm.
them is yet to be determined. It could be 3,
Yeah.
could be 4.
3 by the age of 18. I feel like this is one of those ones where James is setting himself up to go, actually, that's a lie. It was 12! I'm that good! So, don't know.
I wish.
Talk me through the one when you were 12, because that's remarkable to have your first one when you're that
So
age.
that was a on the 8th, which it's only like 115 yards or something like that.
Mm.
So it was like a wedge, and I had a little bit. It was the first time I think I'd actually hit a shot with backspin, and it just kind of pitched a little bit behind the hole, and just kind of like slowly rolled down and disappeared. And I was like, "You, can't."
Right, at 12. That's
At
bad
12.
language for a 12-year-old.
That's all right."
And La Manga, what happened?
And La Manga slightly. I can never remember I don't know the yardage off the top of my head because it was when I was about 13,
Because it's a lie.
14.
Right.
No, it's not. Not actually. That was a 7-iron. Pin was back right. Wind was kind of off the left helping. It must have been close to about like 190-ish.
The
I
big
would've-
7-iron, even for
Um,
you.
But I hit it a long way. Though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Downhill,
know that. I know
downwind.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
slightly over a little bit of water as well. That was really nice. And then Scottish Boys was just howling a gale behind and hit a wedge from about 100. I think it was 170 something yards.
Right.
Took apparently one bounce, hit the flag and drop square on.
Cool story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice, cool.
Mm.
I'm inclined to believe this. I know the Scottish Boys is.
I don't doubt he
Legit.
had 3 by the time he was 18.
Do you
I
think there's more?
just think there's more.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, that's.
Have you had any more since?
No.
Wow.
Oh,
God,
all
so it's
3
really dried
Ooh.
up since then.
Oh, no. I'm sure you've had more. So, yeah, I'm
Yes.
calling that a lie.
I think it's true.
Okay.
Yeah, you're recalling details quite well here. Apart from I think the golf, you're maybe getting your compass points mixed up in La Manga. unless I just missed the sign.
It was the southeast course.
Yeah.
No, the La Manga courses, I always get them confused. But
Right.
we always played the championship course on the other one, which was just to the.
They didn't let me in the championship one. Then that's
Oh,
fine.
did they not?
Oh, take it offline. Give me the answer.
Yeah, sorry.
It is. You saying true?
I'm saying true. Yeah.
Lie.
It is A lie.
It's more, isn't it?
It's only 2.
Oh, right, okay.
Which one did you make up?
The Lamango one.
God's sake! I knew it.
You
as
were
well.
onto it.
I knew it. I was on
You were
to it. You've
as soon as
convinced
he
me.
got the course wrong, that should
I
have been
should
your
known.
clue.
God's.
I played it well, though.
You knew. You knew
Ah.
that's not the name of the
Why have I
course.
believed you there?
Because I hit the pin and rolled off the green. I do remember that one. But yeah,
that's
it's
so
a lie,
annoying.
unfortunately. Only 2. Only 2.
And you've not had
Sake.
any more since?
Not had any more since, no.
Lewis, you, how many?
I've had 2. Yeah.
Okay.
What about
2.
yourself, Michael?
Shut up.
What have you had, Michael?
I don't like talking about I feel personally attacked at this point.
Mini golf. We'll count mini golf.
Honestly, I think,
25.
I think my 7-year-old daughter will have a hole in one before I do. Genuinely.
Oh,
She's got a
God.
really, really good swing.
Yeah.
already.
Good.
So, yes.
Oh,
Well,
dear.
thank you for that, James.
No,
thank you very much indeed.
no
And like
problem
we
at
said
all.
before, if you want to get involved, we are working in the background on the technical issues that will plug you people right into the show. So if you want to
Yes.
come on the show and take us on with a Bear Lies, we'll even stick up a prize for you if you manage to fool us. So yeah, get in touch, drop us a DM, and we will hopefully have you on in the next week or 2. Speaking of guests, next week's episode's an absolute beauty. We're going to be joined by someone who will be very familiar to listeners and viewers of a certain vintage, and that is Steve Ryder, the former BBC voice of sport. He hosted everything, didn't he? From every live sport you can imagine, hosted Grandstand. Steve's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Interviewed him just the other day. We'll put that in next week's episode. Some of the stories
Yeah.
about like Peter Alice and disasters at the Masters and all that. So, honestly, one of my favourite interviews ever. Absolutely brilliant. So tune in for that. That's for next week. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank
this
you.
week. Always
Thank
a
you very
pleasure to
much.
have you. Thank you to you for listening, for
Thank you.
watching. Thank you, Callaway, for your continued support. As I say, we'll be back again next week. Until then, bye-bye for now.